One. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very, very special episode of College Football UK as we are joined by none other than Gary, but even more importantly, we are joined by the one and only Thomas Hensey of the Union Jack Classic, former TCU college football player. We're very, very excited to have you, Tom. Just can you tell us a little bit about yourself first? And well, we're here to talk about the Union Jack Classic, where it all came from.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, thanks for having me on. This is a lot of fun to talk about a sport that I think we all love and have a lot of passion for. And that's really, kind of the underlining story of this conversation. I think we all deeply care about this game. We understand it uniquely. It's changing a lot over the last 2 years, and it's going to continue to change a lot. It's more professional now, quite frankly, than it is amateur, which has got its pros and cons, and we can get into in a minute. But I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas. Was just a normal kid running track, playing football, all the sports as they do here in Texas, and always wanted to play in college football, but not the biggest of the athletes around, but I had a heart. And I thought I was going to go play at the University of Texas, which a lot of kids aspire for if you grow up here. But TCU called, and I just had an affinity to it. It was a smaller school. I felt more comfortable in the classrooms there, and it still was what was called the Southwest Conference. And so we played Texas, Texas A&M, Arkansas, SMU. And by the way, in the early 80s, SMU was one of the best teams
Mhm.
in the land with Eric Dickerson, Craig James, Lance
They
McElhaney.
had some team
So,
there at that period.
oh, I loved playing those guys. And so, I love talking to Eric Dickerson about the old rivalries that we had between SMU and TCU. Anyway, when I graduated and wasn't drafted in the NFL, I did play a couple of seasons in the CFL in Canada for Toronto and Montreal and Ottawa, which was a lot of fun. But again, when that ended, I still loved the game, but couldn't play it any longer. So what do you do? Well, you go get a job. And
Mm.
so I got a degree in marketing and I started doing advertising and marketing, but was a little disillusioned with it because I just had a vision of, again, promoting the game. But when you're 26 years old, there's not a lot of experience behind that, and you don't get a lot of job opportunities.
Yeah.
And I just had a vision to move to London to export some of our way of thinking here to the UK. And I was really darn lucky that I got a job at a PR firm that was launching Budweiser. And Budweiser said, "We want to be associated with the best of America, so let's bring over the NFL." And I raised my hand and said, "Yes, please. I'll be on
Yeah.
that account."
Okay. Why not?
And
Yeah.
the head of Budweiser was a visionary. And so these games were called the American Bowl Series. They were preseason games played in August
Yeah.
at Wembley Stadium.
I went
And it
to
was the
the I
best.
went to the Miami 49ers one.
Oh, that was a big one. Yeah, Dan
Yeah.
Marino came over, Joe Montana came over. We did pressers with him, and as a young lad, that was exciting to me, right? I never worked for the money. I worked to be a part of that. But it was only one game a year. And the NFL woke up and said, "Hey, this game is lucrative with merchandise. People want our hats, our t-shirts, and oh, by the way, now international TV rights are becoming more valuable." So that, was they played 2 or 3 years of that, and then at the time, Jerry Jones bought the Dallas Cowboys and got rid of Tex Schramm, and the NFL hired him to launch a league called the World League of American Football. And I'd
Go
known
Monarchs.
Tex Schramm. Yep, I worked with the London Monarchs, worked at Wembley for a couple of years, setting that team up, as well as the Dragons in Barcelona and the Galaxy in Frankfurt. And one of my friends, Oliver Luck, ran the Frankfurt Galaxy. So that was just a nice rivalry. And in '91, we ended up selling 90,000 tickets, winning the World Bowl. It was just an incredible experience.
Mm.
And so at that point, I realized that there's an appetite for American sports here. So I went out and bought the rights for the NHL, ice hockey at the time. We brought over NBA basketball. We even played a baseball game at Lord's Cricket Ground.
Mm.
This was in the early '90s. And all of a sudden, the kind of the Americana sports craze became a fringe, sport. It wasn't established, but it was
It was
getting
kind
some
of a niche,
interest.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But one game a year doesn't pay the bills. So, we dabbled around in a few things and we set up a marketing company called Rhino Marketing. We still have it here in the States and in the UK. And my partner is Brian Dubisky, who's involved in this and who you've met, and Rob Yao. Started thinking about how can we take our experiences from launching major brands across Europe, but specifically in the UK and in the US, and still be involved in sports. So we started getting involved in sponsorship. So we've done a lot
Yeah.
of kit deals around the globe, but also in the EPL,
Mm.
sponsorship rights mainly. And then a year ago, a friend of mine who used to work with us had gone on to be an associate athletic director at the University of California. He took the Cal Bears to play Hawaii in Sydney, Australia. And I was a big fan of that. And I was fascinated. How did he architect this financially? Because that's halfway around the world. And so, of course, Hawaii is a little bit closer and a West Coast team being Cal, but they were
Yeah.
visionaries.
Mm.
And so he ended up leaving and he came back to his alma mater, University of Houston. And I called him up and I said, "Hey, why don't you come work with us? Let's take college football to London." And he said, "Love it. We love this game. We have a passion." And it's really not about taking a single football game. It's about taking the cultural experience that we all grew up with, that every
Yeah.
Saturday, every American wakes up and watches college game day. And then there's what, 70 games from noon
Yeah.
central to midnight, on. And so it's
Yeah.
it's a ritual for us. And there's just something about walking up on a college campus, whether it's Michigan, whether it's TCU, University of Texas, Ole Miss. You get goosebumps when you hear the snare drums of the marching band and
Yeah.
and, and the cheerleaders, and you smell the
Yeah.
barbecue smoke because everyone's out there for hours, tailgating and enjoying just the experience. The game is a byproduct of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you walk into that
Game just
stadium,
happens to break out in the middle of like a whole day, right? That kind of thing.
the way I have told my English friends is it's kind of like, we're putting on a rock concert with an American football game stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a party from start to finish. And sometimes you get amazing games that come down to the last minute and it's a walk-off field goal or, a
Double
70-yard
overtime,
drive to
who
win the
knows?
game.
Yep.
We've all seen those, whether it's NFL or college. And sometimes it's not quite the game, because the game has changed a little bit. And when I played, you committed to a university, you were there for 4 years,
Yeah.
maybe five if you had an injury or they didn't play you your first year. Now, these players are lucky if they stay a whole season,
It's
because
quite
if they get
transactional now, isn't it?
it is. And so you can almost, trade players. So all a player has to do is put his hand up and say, I'm not happy, and someone else will pick him up, pay him more money, perhaps. So as of this year, you may or may not know this. Every athlete, there is no longer walk-ons. They're all scholarship athletes, which means the university pays their room and board, their books, and their tuition. And that's a great relief for a lot of families because universities can be very expensive.
Mm.
So, but they also now get paid a salary. So I know for a fact because my son goes to Oklahoma, the lowest paid player is 400,000, the highest is 14 million. And that blows my mind away because
As a
many of these,
student athlete, that's a lot of money for those kids to be playing around
as
with for a start. But
well,
yeah,
that's the 1% tax bracket in the world.
yeah.
And when you're 18 to 22, it's a hard thing to comprehend because in the real world, they're not going to make that as a 22 or 23. And
Mm.
if they're lucky to get drafted in the NFL, they're still probably not going to make that as a
Yeah,
rookie.
yeah. I mean, we've talked about it on the show about the pyramid of, how many players go through high school and then up to college and eventually make that elite. So yeah, for the kids at college nowadays to be making that money, it is got to be a transition for them because,
Yeah.
as you say, once they leave and graduate, it's a bit of a shock to the system, I should imagine, when the
Very much
finances.
so.
Yeah.
Mm,
And then that's a whole nother podcast and a whole nother day of back and
Yeah.
forth, how the game is changing, is it sustainable, and what happens to the mid-pack teams that don't get the big TV revenue, and can they
mm,
recruit them, keep their facilities up? But really back to the Union Jack Classic. So it was about a year ago that I called Chris Pesman and he said, yes, I know Brett Earmark at the Big 12.
Yeah.
And of course, there's been a lot of major realignment.
mm.
Texas left, Oklahoma left. Texas Tech, TCU are probably the lead pack in there, but then they brought on some Pac-12 teams that made it, complemented and made it fun.
Yeah.
And so we had a call with Brett Earmark, and he said, I've got an international vision. Some of my teams
Yeah.
have played in Ireland, which has been successful. And I said, that's true, and I've been to those games, and I respect what they built there. It's just nothing less than amazing.
Yep.
With that said, Dublin and Ireland are not London or the United or England, right?
Right.
So it's a different beast to try to put a game on in the UK, especially at Wembley Stadium.
I can
And
imagine.
so
Yeah.
we started looking, and of course, naturally, that game in Ireland's week 0. And this is the fun part of the story. And we had various teams lined up for week 0. In fact, we were offered the TCU North Carolina game for London. And of
Oh
course,
wow.
being an alumni, that kind of got me excited. And they looked like a pretty good matchup. Both teams, North Carolina has not lived up to its bill this year, but they're going to be good.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so they bring in a conference, which brings in a whole nother viewership. But we could not clear the dates. And we really tried. There's really two venues that we could possibly pull a game at this level off of. And
Yeah.
one is Wembley Stadium, the other is Tottenham Stadium. And Tottenham
I'd be
was,
interested in delving into that with you because I've been to both, and I think from as you mentioned, the college game day experience, Tottenham might not be able to provide that from a stadium perspective, from a game perspective, absolutely incredible. You go in, watch the game, perfect views, all sorts of stuff, but the surrounding area doesn't lend itself to the tailgate, the game day experience, the build up and stuff. And I wondered if you kind of decided between the two that was why Wembley had the plus points.
it's a really good debate. I'm not sure there's a winner or a loser in the debate. Tottenham is probably the nicest stadium in the UK, at least in my opinion. The NFL has put a lot of improvements into it to make it
Hmm.
American football friendly. It's a much tighter experience because it's less seats.
Yep.
With that said, the location is more of a challenge for England to get to. And
Yeah.
Wembley is the venue of legends. It is, your parents, your grandparents, have been there, right?
Yep.
Or know of it because they've seen an England game or been to a concert. The transportation makes it much easier for the majority of the population to get to. So all those factors came into, financial factors came into it, security factors came into it, comfort factors that I've worked there. I worked in
Yeah.
that stadium for many years, um, and the decision was made to play there. And that was in large part. I want to give a shout out to Mark Sirota and Chad Johnson at the Jacksonville Jaguars because they have been incredible partners in this.
Yeah.
They've been doing this a long time. They've made
Yeah. Yeah.
mistakes. They know what not to do, and they want to see American football grow, whether it's
Yeah.
flag football, college football, or their game. And so I think with their support, it made it kind of an easy decision. And working with Paul Smythe at Wembley, he's a visionary. He wanted this to happen. Tottenham was in a transition of some management at the time, so the decision was made.
Yeah.
It is a beast of a stadium. You've got potentially 25,000 more tickets to sell. And we felt that we could activate the youth population. There's
Yeah.
over 100 universities in England that play American football. I did not even know that till last
Yeah.
year.
The BAFA
I've
league is
been,
huge. Yeah. The
well,
BFL
yeah,
league. Yep.
well, there's that. I'm referring to Bucks,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
Bucks.
the
Yeah.
university leagues. They've got 4,000 members. BAFA has 10,000 members. And I actually did the Budweiser and Coca-Cola sponsorship back in the early 90s for BAFA. And so I have a soft spot for it. And so we felt, what if we could get friendly pricing on tickets?
Yeah.
This is a very expensive proposition. You have to rent jumbo jets for these teams to come over. The NFL travels 55 players. College is 105 players.
Yep.
And then they have to bring all the infrastructure
The
because
logistics of getting those
these
teams. Yeah.
these are student athletes, so they have to have their compliance officers, their counselors. And so it's a large travel party of about 180. And so we rented out two hotels so we can mitigate, the jet lag. We're going to rented private jets. They're going to come in. They get right back into the routine. They play their game and they go back because we're playing on week 3.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
this was the challenge that I thought, well, we'll just get someone to play week 3. There wasn't a athletic director or a head coach that was going to dare put their team in the middle of a season
Yeah.
on an airplane.
Mm.
And Rob Yao, one of our partners who you met at Wembley on Sunday, is good friends with Graham, who's the athletic director at ASU, and he said, you know what, we're opening a campus with King's College. Maybe my president
Oh
and my
wow.
chancellor might be interested. And the president and the chancellor said, heck yes, we're interested. So he said, now I got to go ask the coach.
Yeah.
And their young coach, who's a fiery guy, I like him a lot, said, I'll play anyone, anywhere. So we said, okay, the door's open.
Right.
The door's
Love it.
cracked slightly. Oh, I see a little light coming
Now
through there.
suddenly there's a hope, right? It's suddenly
There's a
it's
motivation,
viable.
right?
Yeah.
When you get a vision and a motivated individual or a university, it's fun. But we needed an opponent. And so Brett and Scott Draper, who does the scheduling for the Big 12, started calling around. And again, the athletic director at Travis at Kansas said, you know what, let me talk to my chancellor, my president, and then I'll finally get to the coach. And the coach said the same thing. Kenny Dillingham
Anyone?
will play anyone anywhere. I'll play anyone anywhere. And these are, teams coming off incredibly good seasons last year. So,
Yes.
ASU won the Big 12. They went away from getting into the national championship.
Yep.
Kansas has been a program on the rise. They've got a
Really good.
quarterback right now who's going to be drafted, certainly, and they're going to watch him on Sundays
Oh,
next year.
good.
But then we had another roadblock because both of those teams were already scheduled to play opponents in 2026 on week 3. So we had to go in to look to moving those. And because Brett Earmark at the Big 12 wants his two teams to be featured as the first two teams to
Mm.
play at Wembley Stadium, he started, writing the
Pulling some
waivers with the
strings and
NCAA and moving. So they had to move Middle Tennessee out of the game with Kansas and Hawaii out of the game with Arizona State. And while you think that's easily done, it's not.
No.
And so we finally got that done in August. We were hoping to
Good.
announce this
right.
well back before then.
Yeah.
But then now you're getting agreements and contracts, and it's complicated because you're dealing with billion-dollar university brands and
Yeah.
Wembley Stadium, and we finally got everything put together, and the story leaked out in the U.S. because when you have to go so deep telling people about to get permission, eventually
It,
someone hears about it.
somebody said
It
somebody
was
says something to somebody. Yeah.
on three, wasn't it? On three got the story.
Yes, here, yes, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But then we kind of said, okay, we can't really have a big marketing launch. We just have to come out and get in front of this story.
Yeah.
So there was a video press conference. Brett Euromark took questions. Both teams have access, released this to their database, and the initial reaction from their fans are strong. Very, very similar sales numbers right now as Dublin. So we're expecting 20,000 plus American fans
Love
to
it.
follow. It
That's
could get a
amazing.
bit
That was one
further.
of our questions, of will they travel? Because obviously we've been to the Dublin games and we've seen like not this year, but the year before, FSU just came and took over the whole of Dublin because obviously they travel well. And we weren't sure of that sort of sales aspect from the
Well,
US, but that's great to hear. That's
and
amazing.
Gary, to your followers, to me, this is the point of separation. We all love the NFL games. It's phenomenal. It's the best of the best, and we're not trying to be better than that. With that said, you've been to these games, and there's 32 jerseys worn. You get a smattering of Jags fans here or what Jets fans there, but it's just I love the NFL. I want to go support it. My team's not here, but I want to go support it. The difference in when you get 20 or 30,000 fans coming over from America is you get more of that stadium dynamic
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
of a rivalry. I'm passionate. And the difference between the NFL and college is here in the US anyway, is college is much more tribal in the fact
Yes.
that these
Yeah.
these universities have been in existence almost 150 to 180 years, if you can believe that. So there's generational of alumni that have graduated, hundreds of thousands of people, and they have a
Yeah.
connection to that school. They went there, they worked there, they maybe played football there like I did. I've never played for the Dallas Cowboys, but I love the team. But I'm never going to have that same affinity for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the difference is if we can get the travel parties over here, our English friends that come to the game out of curiosity are going to feel that
Yeah.
energy,
Yes.
and we're
Absolutely.
trying best we can to duplicate the game day experience. Not
Uh,
the football will take care of itself,
yeah.
Yeah.
but we're bringing over the marching bands from both schools. We're bringing
Yes.
over the cheerleading squad for both schools. That adds a different dynamic that we get
Yeah.
to have fun and play with. With pregame, during the game, maybe halftime. We haven't settled on the halftime, but we certainly want to put a big entertainment on
Yeah.
for the fans that bought tickets.
Yeah.
So it'll have some live music there too. And that's what's exciting. So can we pick up a game day in Lawrence, Kansas, and put it over there? So
Yeah.
Wembley does offer us more outside activation for fan fests than
Yeah.
Tottenham would. It's
Yeah.
not a discount on Tottenham because it's a great place.
Incredible.
It's
Yeah.
just that Wembley gave us what we felt for the college experience more. So now what we have to do, Gary Fletch, is activate the kingdom, as I said
Yeah.
earlier, and,
Yeah.
and, and get people to come out and support this because we want to create a sustainable business that goes on for years. We have a 3 year with an option on a fourth year at Wembley. Our commitment
Nice.
to ourselves and is to do this for a while
Yes.
and maybe even consider basketball and other college sports if we can create the audience. Now, here's something interesting. Sky started growing a TV audience last year for college football.
Well,
They moved ESPN moved the contract to
with
DAZN.
with, with yeah with a clamor from some of us over here who shouted and screamed that nobody was
Yeah,
showing it. So
we were the
we
ones
might
throwing
want we want
tantrums
to
in
take a little
Mexico.
bit of
I'm
credit
going
for
to
that
give
one.
you both. I'm going to give you both credit, and I think I bow down and thank you both because as an American living in the UK, I want to watch my sport too.
Yeah,
So DAZN launched it this year. Didn't really know what they were getting into. Early ratings seemed to be really strong.
yeah,
It's beating Italian football, and that's a pretty big deal. So there is a marketplace for it in the UK. We just have to go find it. And I'll say this: we're not trying to be everything to everybody. I've
No.
launched enough products to know that if you spray and pray with your money, it's hard to get.
half of it doesn't stick, does it?
Yeah. So we know that there's roughly 15 to 17 million American football fans in the UK. That's factual. The
Yes.
NFL have quoted those numbers. About 2 million of those are what they call avid fans, which either buy a ticket to a game, buy a shirt, they follow it on social media every week and they fantasy leagues, whatever that may be. So that's what we're trying to do. The extra element is we're creating a relationship with Bucks and BAFA, trying to get, we've got 50-pound tickets, 60-pound tickets, 70-pound tickets. The average ticket price is 112 pounds, which is slightly lower than the NFL.
Yep.
And we did that with thought, talking to Ticketmaster, Wembley, and the NFL. So fans who can't afford perhaps to go to an NFL game, I don't know if it's necessarily a price issue. They just sell so fast
Yeah.
that you
But
can't get
yeah,
you can't get in the queue quick enough. And so what we're really hoping is that we can open this up to a new demographic, a younger demographic, and fill those seats up with, again, guys that play the game or love the game at their college level. And
hmm
if we can do that, there you bring another energy into this business, and we can put on maybe a game day. We're hoping television hasn't will decide the time slot, and it'll be American television that decides it. We're hoping for a 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. kickoff game, and the reason being is there's something, in my opinion, magical about a game that starts during the daylight and ends in the evening.
Yeah.
And it's just to me what we could do. The NFL have used to play in the evening. Now they play at 2:30 local,
yeah,
and I like that. But because it's easy for people to get home that night, maybe.
Yeah.
But if we can get a game at 5 or 6, I think and the weather cooperates with us, we can have a day
Um,
that people can spend the whole day there, get their
yeah,
money's worth
yeah.
out of it. You know, start to, one of our jobs is to educate people on the power conferences. What the heck is a power conference? There's currently four. There used to be five.
Yeah.
This is one of them. Uh, we've got I think 60. Last I heard, 60 people were drafted out of the Big 12 last year in the NFL, and there's over 300 people in the NFL from
from the
the
big.
Big
Mhm.
12. So it's a high level of football. There's 16 teams, even though that's
Yeah.
odd because it's called the Big 12.
Yeah,
I'm scratching my head trying to figure that one out, but there's really good teams. We may look at a Big 12 matchup in 27. We may look at a Big 12 ACC or SEC or Big 10 matchup. Um, Now that we've proven that a team is willing to fly week 3, we're getting a lot of phone calls from colleges
it's opened
saying,
the door, right? It's
yes, sir.
the first team that's done it, and everyone's gone, oh, you can make it work. Because initially, I'm guessing you must
And
have hit a lot of buffers of, oh, week 3, we can't travel,
the
we can't.
Everyone said it. Everyone
yeah.
said it. And I was, a cheerleader saying, "Come on, guys. The NFL have spent 30 years playing over there, and
Yeah.
they've tried everything to mitigate jet lag, and some travel late, some travel early. Who knows?
Worked for the Rams this year.
I
As
can tell you, Kenny Dillingham, who's the young head coach at ASU,
yeah.
said, I want my team to be there on Monday. I want them to have a couple of days of cultural experience. I want them to enjoy this once in a lifetime experience. We don't need to go play a football game in London. We can play it anywhere. But I want them to get to be the first to do this.
Yeah.
So they're looking at coming in early, Kansas, and they're playing Texas A&M the weekend before, which is a pretty
That's
powerful school, right?
that's a nice easy run in for that one. Yeah, easy warm up.
Gary, on the road. So they're
Oh,
looking at packing up from College Station and flying out of Houston, which is the closest major airport, over to London on Sunday. And think of the logistics of this. That's a whole nother conversation we could have fun with.
Yeah.
How do you get all these people? There's what, 245 seats on a 777. So, we're going to pack that thing up. Their fans will be coming over. We've got logistics of hotels and transportation practices. We're looking at doing some cultural events. which we can have another conversation about once we lock those down. But
Mm.
getting them out in the city. Let these 18 to 22-year-olds be ambassadors of the sport that again you
Yeah.
two love, I love, and show the city. Let the cheerleaders walk up and down, whether
Yeah.
it's Regent Street, Trafalgar Square. Let the marching band. Could you imagine it going down Oxford Street and the noise echoing up those
Wow.
buildings? And so
That
people
would be insane, wouldn't it? Yeah.
can touch it. And here's what we're hoping is that the fans can get much closer to these bands, cheerleaders, and athletes than they can an NFL player because
Yeah.
they're just different schedules.
They can equate, and we've talked about that on our show. That what we love about college football game is that intense rivalry. Is that it's closer in equivalence to the soccer over here, as you call it,
Yeah,
right? It's like you've
absolutely.
got that tribalism. You've got
Absolutely.
that. This is my team. It doesn't matter. I've been supporting this team, or my family have grown up supporting this team. Dad's played. Da, 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 so I'm a cut. As Fletch says, you cut him and he will bleed light blue for City.
Yeah.
I'm the same, right? And it's the same sort of thing for the college game in the States. You cut yourself, you'd be, TCU blue, for example. And it's like, that's what it is. So that's why we love it. And it brings that equation. And it's great
Um,
if we're able to get the kids and then those university players who also love it. That's an amazing aspect that we didn't even
um,
consider.
Kenny Dillingham, by the way, is the unofficial, or I think actually potentially official, favorite person for the College Football UK podcast. What he did last year with Arizona State, obviously, as we all saw that prior to the 2024 season, everyone said that Arizona State had finished last in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Everything.
They
Yep.
may win one game, may win two, and then Kenny Dillingham, who is temp through and through, you won't find someone who's more Arizona State than Kenny
Yeah.
Dillingham.
Leads it.
And that whole underdog story, we got so behind it last year and have continued to just bang the drum for. So Kenny Dillingham, thank you personally so much for the love that you've given and shown to the UK. I did
He,
want
he
to ask.
can't wait to get over there. He can't wait. He's a rock star. He's motivated. I'd play for him any day of the week. Look,
Yeah,
it's a desert school, so the weather's good all the time.
Yep.
Their mascot's probably one of my favorites, Sparky,
yeah,
the
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 Sun
Sun
Devil. Yep.
Devil. It is. I've only been to a game once there, but it was one of my favorites. They
yeah.
beat my alma mater TCU with a walk-off field goal a couple of weeks ago. I went to that game. But yes, we'll get Kenny to come on your show and talk about their vision for this, and
Lovely.
he's an open book. But
Yeah.
both of the head coaches are very supportive of
Yeah.
this, and you can absolutely get time with both of them.
I'm gonna
That's
say, and
amazing.
Coach Leopold is someone we do bring up a lot as well. He followed us on Twitter the other day, and I ran around the house telling my wife, and my wife's going, "Who on earth is Coach Leopold?" And I'm going, "He's the head coach of Kansas."
He is
Um,
fired up. He
yeah,
said whatever I can do, Thomas. I'm there to help this sport grow. He
yeah,
loves it like we do. He just gets paid a little bit more money than we do to
yeah.
be a coach.
Um,
But he's a surprisingly really approachable person.
yeah, I think for me, what has been really exciting, and we followed this sport for years. Listen, we've done the whole figuring out ways to watch college football games when it's not necessarily been available, and we've had to go through all of that to watch Michigan, to watch Florida State, just to watch this game that we've felt so passionately about for years. But to see guys like Brett Yarmark, especially with some of the quotes he's put out and talk about wanting to be the global conference, talking about really wanting to put the NFL has done so much for growing the game, and it's about time that college football really rode on those kind of dragged themselves around the coaches and turned up and said, "No, we're here, and this is why we're the better sport." And how good is it for you guys to get such a backing off Brett Yarmark, off Kenny Dillingham, off Coach Leopold, and just get that back and that confidence to say, "We're here. We support your vision, what you are trying to do, and we will do whatever we can to make this a success."
It validates the last year of my life. Nobody's paid us. We've done this on our own. It was a passion project that we're trying to turn into a business, not only just for ourselves, but for everybody who's associated with us, for you, for the concession people, for the, we want it to be there. Again, I moved to London in 1989. And so I spent my adult life there, had my kids there, started my business there. I love London. It is my adult home. And I tell my friends about, growing up and playing sports in America, and they just look at me like I have three heads. They,
Mm.
they don't understand that I got to, at 18, play in front of 75,000 people on national television. And I wasn't paid at the time like they are now, but they paid our school. And I would have done it for free.
Mm.
And you think about this. My friends at the university used to tease me. I said, Thomas, why would you train 40 hours a week? 40 hours a week. I'm not saying I was running that entire time, but whether you're in film session, position meetings, getting taped up, going through rehab, whatever it was, you were training 40 hours a week to maybe play 15, 20 minutes. Think
Yep.
about that. A football game's 60 minutes. I know it takes 3 hours for us Americans to put it on, but it's 60 minutes. So if you're a special team player, you're maybe only playing 5 minutes. If you're a starter, you're playing maybe 30.
Mm.
And my friends
And
would
it's
like
a
go, is it worth
full-time
it? I
job,
go,
right? It's a full-time
I
job to just that 30 minutes.
I would have just stood on the sideline. I would have been happy doing that. I would stand there and I would look at the way they presented the game, whether it was a flyover, pyrotechnics, and we didn't have back then all the stadium dynamics that they do now.
Yeah.
Uh, but I just thought I would do it differently. I would change this, I would change that. Then when I started working on the London games with the NFL, of course, they do it pretty well.
Yes.
But I still saw things I would accent and change and how I would go after the younger groups.
Mm.
And now we finally get a chance. We're either going to be the smartest guys in the room or we'll get, run out of the country. But I have never in my 35 years of working, and I've launched products all around the world, including Red Bull in the UK, which was probably my biggest success story.
It's gone
Um,
quite well. It's gone quite well.
I had a lot of red lights though.
Mm.
In this project, I've not had a yellow or a red light. It's all green. I have not one person has said bad idea. Not one in fact, I've had everyone say this is really probably the best thing you've thought of. And so it's so much fun to talk to people like yourselves. And there's others out there
Mm.
that love this like we do, want this to be successful. I can't wait to stand on the sideline with you two and look up and watch 80,000 people in that stadium go, wow, this is different. This is fun. I'm maybe going to start watching this now.
Yeah.
And I want to come back to next year and create that thing like they have in Dublin, which the people really look forward and embrace it. And so that's what I'm hoping. And we need voices like yourselves. We're a small group. I respect that. But again, I'll tell anyone that'll listen, I'm not trying to convert rugby fans. I'm not trying to convert
No.
motor racing fans, cricket fans. There is a similarity to the soccer tribalism, but I'm not trying to convert those fans either. Our doors are open. Tickets are for sale. We'd love to have you out here. I think you might like it. We've worked very hard to make sure our ticket pricing is in line. And while we do have expensive tickets, those have already sold.
Yeah, those
Location
gone.
always sells in a major event. So, no American's going to fly over and buy a cheap ticket, right? Because they're already spending thousands to come there.
Yeah.
So, and you guys both know because you've been to the game in Ireland, that drives millions, hundreds of millions into
Oh,
their economic.
for the local environment and the local bars, shops, everything. It's just
Across Ireland.
oh,
It's the whole
across, yeah,
country because
like
like we
from,
were talking to people from Kansas State when we were in the airport in Liverpool last year flying over. It's like people turn up, they spend a week and a half and they go all around Ireland and do that. It's hundreds of millions for the entire Irish economy.
yeah. And that's
Amazing.
It's
probably
big.
going to be the same for hopefully these guys who come in to
I
embrace
think
the
it
whole
might
week. And
surpass it because London costs more, just
yeah,
quite frankly. So that is again not our motivation to do this. And a lot of people have said, "What are your objectives?" And you ask 10 people, you'll get 10 different answers. Mine is to put on the best sports entertainment event that we can, that 80,000 people will come to and want to watch on television. I think television viewership will be big because it's the first game in London.
yeah.
And say, wow, I can't wait for next year. Of course, we want to sell it out. Of course, we'd like it to be profitable. These are not cheap ventures. There's a lot of stakeholders involved. I can tell you the NFL want this to work
I
because
bet
they want
I was
they want American football to grow.
yeah,
Um, the Jags want it to work. Wembley wants it to work because they want it to come back. The hotels want it to work because they want us to go back. And so,
yeah.
and I think if we can show the world that this game there's a market and a demand for it in the UK. I think you'll see more potentially. And then basketball's a natural European sport. So
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, we're already talking, having discussions. Now my phone's ringing from Germany and
Yeah, yeah.
Spain and France saying, can you bring college football here? And I said, can you just let me get to 26? And
Just hold up a second. Can we just get
because
this one done?
I just met you guys, a week ago, and it's changed our lives. So thank you for your support. It's always nice to have friends, but that have the same passion in something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's three of us on this call. There's 30 of us out there, and 30,000 of us out there, and maybe tens of thousands of us out there. Again, we've only had tickets on sale, and I don't have the recent, figure of what we sold, but I know when it came out, they were going pretty briskly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were excited about that because it's a year out. College football's shown on television through January, the NFL through early February. So we've got a few months to do things. This is not going to be a big advertising blitz because, again, that's trying to be everything to everybody. So we've got friends like you who are helping us get the word out there. It's very socially driven,
Yeah.
culturally driven. I was on the phone with our student ambassadors yesterday. They're so excited to start telling us how to in Nottingham. How do you communicate with your peers there? Because I'm an old marketing guy. I don't know how to do that. In Southampton, in Cardiff, how do we activate these local communities? And if they
Yeah.
want to buy a ticket, great. But at least we want them to be aware of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At
And
least get
and
them to tune in and watch and see
And
what it's about, and then come
and
back
I
again. Yeah.
we're asking them to come follow people like you, to
yeah.
engage in people like you, to support you, because the stronger we can make our community better, then the whole game works and everyone wins. And so I think this is going to be a fun journey. We know we're going to make mistakes. We're
Yeah.
okay with that. We're not proud people. We know we're going to have to earn every ticket sold.
Yeah.
But again, it comes from people like you two. So
Yeah.
I want to thank you both for sharing this
Thank you.
passion, this the game we love. And again, whoever's listening, this is not just a football game.
Uh,
Come
There's
early.
so much more. So
yeah.
much more.
Um, just to wrap up, I'm aware you're jet setting around the planet, and I'm pretty sure you've got a beach house in the Bahamas to get to soon. I know that as well.
I'm
Um,
going to the University of Kansas to watch the Jayhawks play KSU, which is a state rivalry game
State
state
on
rival,
rivalry
Saturday.
or
should be a biggie.
as we would call
So
it over
whoever's
here, a
listening,
derby.
tune it in. It's 11 a.m. Saturday, which is 5 p.m. In the UK
Yeah.
on
Which
the zone.
which we call it a derby, because it's the
It
Michigan
is.
State derby
Yes,
this
sir.
week as well. But we just want to say, we're just conscious of your time. I know you've got to get off in a second, so we just want to say a huge thank you to yourself for coming on. We're very
Thank
grateful.
you.
We're part of the general wider group of college football UK creators and writers, and we've got our own. We've had for years. We've been doing this off our own backs. We've got our own top 25 poll that comes out every week. We're such a passionate group of people of college football in the UK. Um, and this community has lasted and thrived and been here for so long. It's great to finally have something like this that we can all celebrate together as well. And hopefully we'll be seeing everyone there at Wembley in September. And hopefully anyone
And
who's
beyond.
listening now will be seeing you there as well in September at Wembley.
And we look forward to collaborating with you. Let's grow this community. We're pioneers to some extent, even though Gary and I probably are on the older side because we've got a few gray hairs when our beard comes out. But
Yeah.
so let's continue to work together. We
Yeah.
can't wait to collaborate. Anything that our office in London or in Houston, Texas can do for you, access to interviews, players, coaches. If you need to talk to Brett Earmark, I've got his phone number. So if you need something from one of his other 16 teams, fantastic. And we look forward to seeing you
Just
guys back in London when I get back in a couple of weeks and continue to say, how can we grow this business?
Yes.
yeah.
And it's going to be guys like you. If this is successful, it's not a marketing or ad campaign. It's passionate fans who have invested their own time and their own resources, like you two gentlemen have, to grow this game, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you very, very much, Thomas. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And obviously, we can't wait. There's a million other podcasts that you got to jump on. We're gonna save the world of
We're gonna
NIL
we're gonna we're
together.
gonna fleece you now. We're gonna rinse you to death
No,
now, Thomas.
we're gonna save the world of NIL together. We're gonna save college football
Conference
together, which I'm sure.
realignments. We're gonna
Um,
go through that and everything. Yeah.
and continue to grow the game here. So thank you.
Well, just
Enjoy
know
your
this,
week.
anything that our office can do to help you with regards to access to the Big 12, the two teams, or any of the teams, quite frankly, we'll do our best. We'll climb mountains. That's what we're doing. We're climbing a mountain. Everyone says it can't be done. It won't be done. Oh, that's 80,000 tickets. I don't know if you can do that. Well, we all
Until
love a
you do it.
challenge.
Until we do it, right? Until we do
Yeah.
it.
And then there's going to be a demand for those tickets, and then people won't be able to get them, and then schools are going to be lined up, and so maybe one day Michigan does come over. So that would be a real thrill for me to see them play Texas there, but we'll see.
Yeah, have to peel me and Sam away from each other because
Opposite
Sam, one
ends
of
of
our other
Wembley.
co-hosts, is a massive
Opposite ends of
Tottenham fan.
Wembley. We'll have to put you guys.
So yeah, but yeah,
But
thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend.
guys, you bet. Thank you both, and I appreciate you supporting Union Jack Classic, University of Kansas, Arizona State. I didn't go there. I didn't play them. I played against them, and now I'm their number one fans because they believed in this.
Yeah.
And so we've got two you know, guinea pigs willing to let us put them in the incubator and experiment to see if we can create an audience. And it's going to be with guys like you, shows like this. And we're big fans, and we look forward to collaborating with you. And by the way, you need to sell those shirts to everyone who listens to you because they're fire, man. They're fire.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thomas, as Fletch says, thank you so much for taking the time out of a very busy schedule. We're loving the enthusiasm, we're loving the passion project, as you've called it. We're fully behind it. We want to bang the drum as much as possible. So let's get the word out there to everybody.
Thank you both, and let's activate the kingdom
Let's
together.
activate the kingdom
Let's go.
together.